What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into, I believe, day 17 of the challenge. We kind of crossed the midway point a couple days ago, but we're now kind of getting towards the tail end of the challenge. We're just kind of doing a bunch of stretch goals type stuff here on the channel, where we've already built our competitive deck that has been doing us pretty good. I haven't played a ton of games as I kind of calmed down on how many games I'm actually playing currently in MTG Arena, just because initially I started out, I was playing 15 games, or at least 15 wins a day. We are Silver 2 here in our profile for our standard ranked with our constructed deck. We are also Gold Tier 1 with our limited deck, which is definitely not that bad. And this is only coming from I would say probably like the 8 or so drafts we've done here on the channel. As constructed, once we have a deck built, we don't have to spend extra currency to do the event. And that's kind of brought me to my next point. I was actually kind of sitting to myself and I was like thinking, do I want to keep on doing these standard events even though I've only done one so far here on the channel, or do I want to save maybe up to do at least one more round of quick drafts in MTG Arena and maybe just dive into Crimson Vow when I hit 5,000 gold. It's definitely one of those things that I do think, depending on where you feel like you are, whether it's something you need like a break from playing the standard constructed stuff, you can kind of think about how you want to save your currency and use it to play other things other than just playing the standard rank queue or something like the play queue or something like that. And that's definitely one of those things I've been debating. My other end goal here is also trying to buy the Mastery Pass. We're only at 680 gems, which is definitely quite far away from buying that Mastery Pass. And it's definitely something that the current Mastery Pass isn't very standard friendly, and if you're a free-to-play player, you don't really play Alchemy. I would say if you're, thinking on the fence, like, should I buy the Mastery Pass or shouldn't I feel like maybe you can avoid buying this one if you're not the biggest fan of Alchemy or what, happened in Baldur's Gate. But if you want to dive in a little bit, get some extra currency, get some extra cards, get some extra cosmetics for, all the Baldur's Gate cards, it's not the worst investment, as it does give you more avenues to get more cosmetics and things like that, as well as additional packs and currency overall. But, we've definitely hit an interesting point of this series, right? A lot of the major goals have been accomplished, and like I said, everything from here on forward is just like additional things we can do in our time that we're spending here in Arena. We'll do the typical thing. We'll swap our quest for the daily quest of the day. We got just another 500 gold quest of black or red spells. We still have our 750 gold quest for blue or black spells. And I actually did a poll on the channel the other day, asking you guys what color deck you guys wanted me to build in MTG Arena as my secondary deck. And in the previous video, I did go over a couple options when it came to decks about other options of building, other color options. And I kind of showed you all 3 decks, and you guys surprisingly actually chose one of the decks I did go over in the previous video. And you actually voted for Dimir. And I was going to go with Dimir Ninjas, just because I don't, as much as this deck is kind of like a very 50-50 deck currently in the current meta, I do think this is one of those decks that gets better in a post-rotation standard, just on the basis of it plays around one mechanic from a set. And it doesn't really lose too much out of the way of the main deck cards, as most of them come from the Kamigawa set. So this is definitely why I think Dimir Ninjas is actually probably a good deck to build. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and build it because I do own enough cards to build like the more budget-friendly version of it. I'm going to get couple additional copies of things. We'll use my 1 rare and 1 mythic wild card that I currently have, and only use 8 commons, or 3 commons and 8 uncommons. So I'll finish and build a deck. So now we technically have a second deck. And the other interesting thing, as you guys may have noticed, is that I actually have the currency to build these other 2 decks if I really want to go forward into doing so. The next second best deck currently that you guys voted on that you guys wanted me to build was actually the Rakdos Color. And Rakdos Anvil is actually another good deck that I think even in a budget version, it's actually not that bad. And it's something that we can also do. So I'll actually, build both of those decks. And these are other decks that we can build up upon. Just because where our Boros aggro deck is, it's kind of like in a final point that if I really want to upgrade it any further, I would be crafting cards that are from older sets. And I really don't feel like crafting additional copies of things like Pathways and things like that. So if we're going to build other decks, I'd rather build decks that, are in a way future-proof, that we don't have to go back and, recraft certain cards. And the other thing too is both these decks actually, work well with our daily, gold challenge. And I'm actually going to dive into a game of, just a game in the play queue with Dimir Ninjas and just try to get my, hopefully my 30 spells with black-blue deck for the daily quest there. And probably in the process, I may, by mistake, also complete the 500 gold quest just because it does play black as well. And which will in net earn us, a total of 1,250 gold, which is definitely good. That puts us over the amount we would need for a standard event, and put us probably a little less than, the way we need to go to actually get into the next draft if we decide to do a Crimson Vow draft. So with that being said, I'll probably do what I did actually in the previous video when I did my first standard event, is I'll probably, play my games, and then if there's anything interesting, I may talk through my plays that I made in the game, and then kind of give you my feedback after playing the game. Maybe is there something I could do differently? Kind of talk about my plays I decided to make, and even in my victories. And like I said, I'm just in these games, I'm just really more so trying to complete my daily quests. I'm not really concerned about getting my wins. If I wanted to get my wins, I could always just play my normal standard deck that I have that is fully fledged out, that can do fairly well in winning games. But like I said, we're gonna dive into just some basic games here. We're just gonna play around with our new budget Dimir Ninjas deck, kind of get an understanding of how the deck plays. I personally haven't played a ton of Dimir Ninjas. I don't really know how it operates against the current meta, and like what we got going on here. And we're just going to play standard play mode because for some reason it loves to tell you like, hey, it's actually let's play alchemy, which I don't recommend if you really don't like alchemy. So with that out of the way, I'm going to dive into some games, and we'll kind of talk back after I'm done with my games and kind of get some daily wins as well. And we are back. So we played about enough games to get ourselves to about 8 wins. A couple of those wins coming from just standard play queue with our 2 new constructed decks that we decided to build with some of our commons and uncommons on the more budget friendly side. And then the other wins coming from us playing in the ranked ladder. I finished out grinding myself up into the gold ranks of ladder. Go into my profile real quick. We're now sitting at gold 4. I know I'm kind of blocking it here, and then we're also gold 1 in limited. The cool thing is, we're performing still fairly well when it comes to our overall, ranked ladder for the most part. We're still sitting at a pretty healthy win rate overall with our version of our Boros burn deck. We're about 74% on the play, 63% on the draw, which is definitely very good. And like I said, we went 5-2 today. We lost the first 2 matches, which is, one of those things that does happen. So it's definitely, happens when you do play a deck. Sometimes you lose and sometimes you win. The first game, I believe, was just more of I scooped immediately at the beginning because I literally didn't draw the right mana or enough mana to play my hand. Game 2 was against more of a control deck, and it was more of one of those things that we got kind of, our control player got into the point of, even though they were at a low life total, they were able to, gain momentum in the game and swing the board state in their favor, so that they were pretty much locking us down from us even trying to get those final points of damage at their face. Then we faced a mono blue deck that was interesting for the most part. I'm not 100% sure what they were trying to do, but it was a mono blue deck that had a little bit of control elements. Maybe it was like a vehicles deck because they were playing some interesting cards that I would associate with vehicles, but I didn't really see any vehicles by the time they lost the game. After that, we fought a Gruul Werewolves deck that we just kind of wore them down. We were on the play, I believe, in that game, and we were actually on the draw in that game, and we still had the answers for most of their cards that they had on the battlefield with removal and things to get their werewolves out of the way. Then we faced 2 mono red decks where we were both on the play, and we just had the momentum in our favor just because the way our hand was. We kept a pretty aggressive hand. I believe both games we did have 2 lands in our initial opening hand, and we were able to just kind of play against them and kind of be more aggressive, where they really weren't able to be aggressive in their state with their game because that they were playing behind as we were doing more points of damage on our swings than they were. And then the last game was against a Jund deck that unfortunately, they weren't able to get to that point where a mid-range Jund deck would kind of flourish. It kind of seemed like they had some unfortunate parts of having tap lanes initially in the beginning, and then by the time they were able to get to turn 3 and have an untapped lane, they were already well behind, and I think they were about half their life points were gone at that point as well, which is definitely one of those things when you're playing a mid-range deck against a very aggressive deck. Is not a place you want to be in because you're just trying to play catch-up to kind of remove what is happening on the board state. But overall, still, yet again for us, it was definitely good for our favor. Improves our overall win rate, for our deck that we're playing here. We've only played 2 hours on the ladder. We're still 24-11, which is still well over 50% win rate, which is definitely awesome when it comes to grinding up the ladder. Again, when it comes to our other decks, they actually still perform fairly well, even at a budget side. So if we actually take a look and take a look at our non-ranked decks, go to our play decks, we can actually take a look and see how our Dimir Ninjas deck and our Rakdos Anvil deck did. And our Dimir Ninjas deck, we went 2-1 just because I wanted to finish up the blue-black 750 point daily quest, and we were able to win two of the games against our opponents. And then the other deck we played with was that Rakdos Anvil deck that I built. This one actually I only played one game of, just because the game was actually kind of long. I think it came in at like 13 minutes or so, just to play the one singular game, because Rakdos Anvil, while it is a good deck, it is definitely a very grindy deck where you're just kind of chumping away points of damage here and there at our opponent. And the other thing is our opponent was playing a deck that had some innkeepers and things that were allowing them to gain points of life back. So it was really, we do points of damage to them, they gain points back. We do points of damage to them, they gain the points back. And then we were able just to finish off our opponent with actually kind of a cool card, which was the Dragon Spark Reactor, because we were still, pinging our opponents for these 1 points of damage, but we were creating artifacts in the process, which was triggering the effect of putting counters on the Dragon Spark Reactor. That we got this up to pretty much a high point total that we were able to just kind of sacrifice, get them below the amount of counters that they had. Our amount of counters are below the amount of counters this had, and then we were able to just kind of sacrifice this and throw it at their face on one of their creatures and just kind of win on the spot for 4 mana. But yet again, definitely a cool deck that we did very well against the Bant deck, and like I said, the other deck, the Dimir Ninjas, we did fairly well. Not, we lost against a Selesnya deck that was kind of, I think, like a Selesnya teleport deck, and we weren't able to really get a momentum. We did get them early, but they were able to kind of, recuperate yet again. And then we played a Rakdos Anvil deck, and we just kind of kept the pressure on them because they had to chump with their artifacts, and they didn't get a lot of artifacts, so they were actually, as good as Rakdos Anvil is, it's one of those things, if you don't have artifacts to sacrifice, kind of keep that chain of artifacts being produced on the battlefield, you fall behind, and then you really have nothing to sack to the Anvil other than itself. And then we had played against another blue-white deck that was, I felt like, a little bit of control, but because we are like the tempo control deck, we were able to take advantage of that and kind of get kind of wear them down pretty quickly as well. And then, the decks weren't as super fast because this is, yet again, tempo deck is a little bit more on the slower side. We played 3 games. It took us 47 minutes to play 3 games, which averages about to a little bit over 15 minutes per game. But yet again, it's cool to have some other decks to play some variety. It allows us to hit other colors when it comes to other possibilities of having to play decks of certain colors in order to complete certain daily challenges. And that's definitely kind of why I wanted to create a second and possibly third deck, just because it allows us to continue to complete our daily challenges. I didn't want to have to re-roll the 750 gold quest because we just didn't have a blue or black deck, and I didn't want to play a starter deck to complete it. But like I said, we're kind of grinding along. We have 3,800 gold. We have 680 gems. We still have 24 commons, 16 uncommons, which is definitely very good. And getting to 8 wins, even though we don't get a ton of gold after like really the initial 4 wins, we still get you still get card unlocks, here. I don't know if it's actually going to show here, but I did get a couple rares in the process of actually cracking open some packs. It doesn't seem like they showed what rares I got from it, but we did get a couple rares. I don't know if I have the screen recorded, but we got some rares from winning our games from this, which is definitely awesome. It's only 1 rare, but still definitely, rare we didn't have already. And they were from standard. It wasn't like it was from alchemy, which is definitely awesome. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Like I said, we're kind of getting towards the tail end of this challenge. Everything we're doing here is more of a stretch goal. It's not really like we needed to get it done. I think proved that it is possible to create a pretty competitive deck pretty quickly in Arena if you kind of understand how to kind of navigate the Arena client and kind of maximize your rewards when it comes to initially getting a bunch of packs and things like that. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you have any feedback, any suggestions, is there something you guys want me to to try to do on our free-to-play account before, you know, the 30 days is over. Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, hit that like button. Definitely helps out a lot. And if you're new here, you want to post new videos on the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next video. Just want to give a special shout out to the channel members here on my YouTube channel. You can also become a channel member yourself down below the video, hitting that join button. It definitely helps out a lot, and I just appreciate you guys for your support.